Hello friends. I always thought that if somebody wants to learn KP astrology, then before that one has to devote some time in learning the traditional astrology or the Parashar and Gemini, those kind of lessons in astrology before moving on to KP. And I thought that this is a no-brainer. Everybody knows about it, that KP does require understanding of the Parashar system. But recently I was watching a KP tutorial video online, and there were some students who were participating in that in-class training, and I was surprised to notice that one of the students was struggling to recall that the Taurus and the Libra signs are ruled by Venus. So it became clear to me that this particular person has straight away joined the KP class without devoting any time in understanding the fundamental principles of the astrology. So I started thinking that what is the usual hurry? Why it is happening? That because I also sometimes get these kind of emails where it seems that a particular person is in a hurry to immediately start learning KP astrology, and one doesn't want to devote any time learning the traditional astrology. So now the question is, what is the hurry? Now some of the things that come to my mind is that these days, there is a rush to push your name as an astrologer of sorts in your community, and obviously there are people who want to seek instant money and publicity, and astrology is one good profession that can have them realize this kind of ambition. And but at the same time, it might be that there is this general perception that learning the traditional Parashar Jyotish is a waste of time, and it seems that people are foolishly convincing the aspiring students not to waste time on the traditional Jyotish system. So if you are a budding student and you are interested in learning astrology, somehow you have gotten into a circle where people have told you not to worry about the Parashar system and just straight away make a dive for the KP system. And the reason is that they say that the KP is easy, KP is magic, and you can learn this astrology within no time. And on top of it, on the internet, you have videos like this where the titles are very sensational, and they tend to trivialize the KP system as if you can really learn KP in a matter of minutes. So when I get these kind of inquiries that how to get started on the Krishnamurti Paddhati, I would always recommend that if you have no idea about the astrology, first you have to get into the traditional astrology, the usual Parashar, Gemini, all those systems. And indeed, this is the Indian astrology is a vast ocean, but there are few things that you should learn before you decide to move to the KP system. So I'm just going to share, some of my own personal thoughts that what you should be learning before you get into KP. And but one thing is important that you have to have handle on the traditional astrology, because the KP system itself is built from the Parashar system. KP has heavily used the existing concepts that were already popular in the traditional astrology. And then on top of it, when you get into the Krishnamurti Paddhati's predictive side, then you will that predictive side is not really that easy as it is made out to be, and it will expect a certain level of your proficiency in the traditional astrology. So let's look at what kind of preparation you should have before you get onto the KP system. obviously the first thing is, the basic stuff in astrology about the houses and what they represent, and the planets, what they represent, and uh, uh, the the good and the bad planets, the malefic and the concept of malefic and benefic. These these should not take much time. These are so small concepts, and within hours you can have your notes prepared and commit some of these to your memory. Committing these all this to your memory will help you. At least you will not be struggling to recall that the Aries and the Scorpio is ruled by Mars. So that's the first thing. This is something that's a ongoing process. This is not that you just learn about these houses or you learn about the planets and you forget about it. This is just ongoing. This is a lifelong thing. You have to keep on, whatever old astrology textbooks or some nice textbooks on astrology that you can have access to. Just try to find out what they write about the houses or the planets. This is very essential. I'll give you one example, and that committing, these kind of thing is easy. But here is, something from Krishnamurti's own book, where he has mentioned about the Virgo sign. The people born in Virgo will have limited number of children, as the fifth house is ruled by Saturn, and also they may have to spend much. Means the Virgo people will have to spend much on their children, because the fifth lord is also the lord of sixth. So sixth is the house of death. So this kind of understanding of the houses and about a particular sign and how the planets affect the various signs in a horoscope. This keeps this will you will get a good handle on this when you keep on reading about all these things. It's not necessary that you kind of create a sequential, you learn from Aries and then finish it in the Pisces. I mean, if I get these books, I will randomly open any page, just about any page, and start reading. So at least this way you have and then later on when you are offering a predictive result to your client, then you want to create a good narrative. You want to create a nice language, you want to create nice meaningful statements. So there all these things will come handy to you. So devote this time as much as you can. So that's the first thing. And then now in the KP astrology, the you have to have a horoscope with a cusp and the degree of the planets and some of the other stuff. So the idea is that there is some calculation part involved, and of course there are softwares that you can use and they will do the thing for you. But if you can do that manually, and I would definitely insist that you do it manually, because lot of basic things that sometimes result in creating an inaccurate horoscope should be clear to you, that what is the reason. So for example, this particular image I have taken from one of the sample horoscope that I found on the web. I think this is from the Future Point, and they have some 150 160 pages PDF available on their website. So I just took a screen grab of the first page, and just wanted to share a few things. That the first is the DST time. You should understand that what DST, or the war time. These days not the war time, it is the DST, which is called the daylight saving time. And in India there are no changes in the clock from one end to the other end of the India. The time is universal. The time that you have in the Kashmir is the time that you have in Kanyakumari. But this is not the case when you go outside of the India. Outside of the India, you have various countries, hundreds of countries, they maintain what is called a daylight saving time. And in many countries, including in USA, the time is advanced. Time is artificially advanced by 1 hour. And in USA, the usually from April to November, the clocks are advanced by 1 hour. So during at that time, it's not the standard time. If you're trying to create a horoscope of somebody who is born in May, let's say in New York, and at that time, then you have to be a little cautious that the time of birth reported by the parents will be a DST time, or should be, or could be a DST time, and you should understand that what a DST time is, because many softwares will not make a automatic adjustment of the DST time. So this is one concept. Then you have to have let's look at something called sunrise. Now you might think that why, what is the need for understanding the sunrise in the KP system. Okay, and but in KP Horary there is a concept called the ruling planets and the day lord. The lord of the day is one of the factors in deciding the or in selecting the final significators. So how do you define a day? Right now you think that in the night after 12 o'clock the day starts, but who told you that that is how the astrologically a day is decided? That's just a man-made concept where we have decided. So in Indian astrology, for example, a day is decided from sunrise to another sunrise. So these are some of the concepts. These are not difficult at all, and but you have to kind of create a list and say, okay, now I understand what is meant by latitude, longitude, what is meant by DST, sunrise and sunset, and then some of these stuff, these are not difficult at all. I mean, it looks like some complex things, but these are not at all complex. The yoke and how these are worked out. So these are just like maybe a couple of days worth of work, not much. But it is nice to have a good handle on these things. And then another thing is the Ayanamsa. And this is one thing when at some point in KP astrology, especially when you're doing a horary and when you're trying to predict the date of an event, and you realize that your dates are going off by a month or maybe 2 months, at that time, then you might be thinking that why this is happening. And one of the reason is the Ayanamsa. Okay, and at that time, if you are clueless about what Ayanamsa is, then you will not be able to figure out that the Ayanamsa could be one of the reason why some of your dates of prediction are not coming true. So you have to understand what the Ayanamsa is. Some of these like Tithi and all that, nice to have these ideas. At one point you will be needing all these things. So, and these are not, like I mentioned, not really uh, really complex things, but it's good to have these ideas. And now the I would definitely recommend that if you have some hand-on knowledge on casting a horoscope using ephemeris, you should understand what an ascendant is. It's not that you just enter the birth particulars and the application, the software application creates a horoscope for you, and you are even clueless what an ascendant is. So you should understand that what an ascendant is and how the planets' position are calculated using the ephemeris, what is meant by local mean time, and what is the difference between the Western or the Indian system, and otherwise called also as the Sion or the Indian system. And because KP requires a fairly accurate horoscope, so having a knowledge about all these things will not hurt you, it will help you. And now understanding and learning, the next question is how do we understand, how do we learn these things? So I would not be able to help you much on this. I will not be able to recommend a book. There are various books available, but I would say that the internet itself, the World Wide Web itself, is a huge is a classroom, huge classroom for you, and there's so many resources available and very nice resources available, that if you create a list of what you would like to learn, and I've already shown you, just take a sample horoscope from the any site and go through all the astrological elements mentioned in that sample horoscope, which are usually drawn using the traditional astrology, and then go on the internet and and Google those particular terms, and you will come up with really nice sites. I can give you an example. You see, this is a image that is trying to explain the Ayanamsa, that why what is Ayanamsa, and why the Indian system of astrology make use of Ayanamsa, why there is a difference of 23 degrees or so compared to the Western. So now this would be very difficult, especially for me. I do not have a background in science or engineering, so for me it sometimes becomes difficult. But on the internet, if you go on the internet, and I'll show you some resources. You see, this is a very beautiful animation of the whole solar system, and so you should not only enjoy watching these videos, but you will have a good visual idea about the solar system. And this is one on the NH. This is also a very nice tutorial. Don't worry about the URL. If you make a search, you will come up with nice videos. So, and in this video, you see this with the help of the 3D and animation, this gentleman is trying to explain that what how uh, the Ayanamsa, the whole concept of Ayanamsa. Here is another, right? So if you look at all these these videos, somebody has already created this, somebody has already invested some time and created these videos. They give you a very nice 3D animated idea about the concepts in astrology that otherwise in the usual astrology textbooks you might find it difficult to understand. So that was the idea, that make a search on the YouTube and you will find very nice tutorials on various things that on the old astrology that will definitely put you on a fast track. So I would say maybe devote couple of months, and so that way at least the whole calculation part and some of the usual the concepts in the traditional astrology. Read as much as possible, and apart from that, of course, the divisional charts, the like the Navansh and the Shodashansh, then how Mahadasha is calculated, nakshatra and all that. Krishnamurti is based on the whole concept of nakshatra and Mahadasha, so that's also important. And so these are some of the things. In Krishnamurti, you will just hear the word cusp, nakshatra, star lord, sublord, significator. But all these have actually come and evolved from the old astrology. And at one point of time, Krishnamurti himself was using multiple methods, and still many KP astrologers they use multiple methods. They use the Krishnamurti. If you look at the old articles of Krishnamurti, he was using the Navansh method. Then he brought in the concept of the Western aspects, and I vaguely recall in his magazine Astrology and Adrist, he has mentioned that he is not shy about using a best a mix of whatever best methods are available. So when you get into the Krishnamurti's predictive side, so at that time you will require all these other things. You might want to look at additional methods just to give you a confidence about making a prediction. Krishnamurti's the framework, no doubt, the basic framework is consistent and it's more contemporary. It speaks today's language, so it's more appealing. But once you have learned this KP's framework, and then you get into the predictive side, then your level of experience in the traditional astrology will give you a very much confidence. And because the KP's predictive side is not like magic at it as it is portrayed to be, it has its own challenges, and you will have your own share of frustrations. And at that time, the knowledge of the oldest or traditional astrology will be helpful. And I have seen some KP astrologers doing very bold experiments. Recently, I was looking at an article where the sensitive points that are mentioned in the Tajik system. So that one of the astrologers, KP astrologers, senior astrologer, have been experimenting with these sensitive points using, or within the KP framework, which is a very exciting concept, using the Tajik system of astrology or mixing it with KP. But unless and until you have studied about this old astrology or Tajik system, it will never come to your mind that there are sensitive points in the Tajik system, and they could be used in the KP framework. So that's all was on my mind. I thought I'll share my experience and my thoughts with you. And depending on your level of how much time you gave, and your capacity to learn and absorb things, it might take maybe 3 months, might take 4 months, or might take 6 months, but I would say 4 to 8 months is a reasonably good time. And if you are serious about learning KP, then devoting 4 to 6 months in the traditional old astrology with a seriousness should be sufficient to get you going. So good luck with your KP lessons, and that's all in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it.